Góðan daginn allir, velkomin á þennan laugardagsfund, föstudagsfund meina ég, og það er hann Sasha sem mun taka fyrir Microsoft Defender fyrir cloud og hann ætlar að rúlla eins yfir það og sýna okkur hvað í því felst. Og þannig að ég ætla bara að gefa honum orðið. Hello Sasha, welcome again to Azure user group.
Hi.
You are here often, so thank you for coming here and giving us your time. And so I'll just give you my thoughts and you can start.
Okay. I thought it would be non-conventional. So you can ask, you can unmute and comment and so on. And since there were we had a lot of ignites last year in the last 12 months, and in the past few months ago, we also had renaming and rebranding of all that with Microsoft Defender suite of products that included ATP, Advanced Threat Protection, and other things. So now everything is called Microsoft Defender. And so we have Microsoft Defender for Cloud, that was Azure Security Center. Then we have Defender for Identity, for Office 365, for cloud apps and everything. So, and along with the rebranding, then we had also added few things, and user interface a little bit refreshed and added some functionality. But it's still the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, or previously known, aka as known as the Azure Security Center, is also, I mean, the product group behind it. It's rather active, and there's a roadmap published as well, so we can see in a few months or weeks what is going on and what will be added and what was deprecated and so on. And I thought we should see a little bit more about it and some older, all well-known stuff, which is the default one that we already had, so like recommendations and secure score and everything, but also some refreshments in Azure Defender actually, or workload protections and so on. So we have something else as well, some new things like added support for new connectors for other clouds as well, and so on. But well, let's take a look at it. First, a few slides, and then we'll jump at the portal, actually at the console, or the graphical user interface. But first of all, well, for the ones that haven't seen the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, let's take a few slides. And thanks again for giving me the chance to be here and to bother you for an hour. And then actually, my name is Sasha, and I'm the Azure MVP and MCT as well, and working in owning a few companies that will deliver the Microsoft and Amazon and Google Cloud as well solutions, and especially we are CompTIA partner and so on. So well, doing with the cloud a lot, especially in the security and infrastructure. And well, actually, let's take a look at the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, actually, or its place in here. So there is no a product that is a silver bullet anywhere. So my Microsoft Defender for Cloud is not a silver bullet itself, but still it works better, the best, in together with different products that cover different aspects. For example, Cloud App Security is now Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, that covers the cloud applications, protects the cloud applications, and deals with the shadow IT and so on. And if we take a look at the identify-recovery lifeline and things that happen in the lifetime of the IT security professional, we have Microsoft Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, and we have also few fields, identification and protection for that the Microsoft Defender for Cloud is dealing with. And then we have also Microsoft Sentinel that is dealing with responding and recovering, but both are in fact touching the detection phase as well. And if you take a look at one and the other, you will also see the events, the same events here and there, but with a little bit different information and with a different outcome, and actually the different actions that we can do. And of course, the alerts that I generated on the endpoints or on the identity plane or in the cloud or from the network resources are both visible here and there. But Microsoft Defender for Cloud is for protecting infrastructure, and not only Azure infrastructure, but also it is meant to protect the on-premises infrastructure, Azure Arc connected infrastructure, and other clouds as well. And of course, all these tools are using the threat intelligence and some form of anomaly detection and machine learning and the information that Microsoft Graph is giving. And let's take a look. In fact, just very briefly, so we can connect Windows machines and Linux machines and cloud actually. And cloud and non-cloud, Azure and non-Azure machines, and then we can do with the information that we got a lot of things. We have the workbooks, we have logic apps, we have automation. We can query these logs with additional to find additional things. We have custom query language that we can use in to query logs. And that is the part, of course, of the Azure Sentinel, but actually Microsoft Sentinel now. And we can use that in the Azure Security Center, actually, Defender for Cloud. And then we can, of course, do whatever we want with the findings that we have export to Excel and Power BI and so on. And of course, this is not just Microsoft Defender for Cloud is not just tied to virtual machines or SQL servers, but also it gives us an overview of other things as well, like information about the state of the files or our digital estate, for example. It integrates with Azure Purview and protects gives us the information about the data that we have, about information protection as well, firewalls, etc., etc. And of course, it's meant to, in fact, to strengthen the security posture. So roughly, we would go to Microsoft Defender for Cloud and see what's wrong with our infrastructure, and then strengthen up a little bit. And we would go to Sentinel, of course, to hunt for anomalies, to search for anomalies, and to hunt for some let's say bad people that might have gain access to our infrastructure and cloud, or actually track them down and see the things that happen that Microsoft Defender for Cloud actually notified us about, and we can drill a little bit more in detail what happened and what are and follow the breadcrumbs, for example, and to see if of course there is more to that brute force scanning, or was it just attempt, or for example did something more serious happen with that. So But in fact, let's see what's in the Azure portal. So these are all the slides that I have, although it's the slides are not the point. The point is that we actually take a look at the Microsoft Defender for Cloud or Azure Security Center that we knew that from before. So let's take a quick look at it. Before we actually have something to see and to see some data, Microsoft Defender for Cloud needs to have some data streamed in and analyzed, or it needs to have some, let's say, infrastructure or some virtual machines, SQL servers to gain data from, and so to display in our dashboards. I'll just zoom out a little bit, and when we zoom out a little bit, then it's these dashboards look a little bit better because we can fit more of them in one screen. So at the overview, we have secure score, regulatory compliance, we have workload protections, and firewall manager. If you haven't taken a look recently, then there's no Azure Defender anymore. So these menus have gone through some cosmetical and of course rearranging and new names. There's no Azure Defender now. Now it's workload protections. Now there is also firewall manager, and I don't have any firewall. I just deleted one yesterday actually, and then I forgot. But nevertheless, what it does, it shows you the protection within the firewall manager and how many networks are protected, how many hubs are protected, and so on. And then we have some other things, a little bit better inventory dashboard, as well as the information protection dashboard, which is, you can see clearly that's in preview, and that integrates with Purview. And what it means, the purpose is to discover sensitive data using Azure Purview. Azure Purview, it's a service, let's say, that will help you discover data throughout your company digital footprint, let's say, and that might encompass also other clouds and other repositories like S3, Amazon AWS S3 buckets, or any other sources like SQL service, Azure storage, and so on. So from non-Azure and Azure on-premises and cloud data repositories, it means Azure Purview is here to help you and gain access to your digital estate and an overview of all the data you might have. And by having an overview of all the places where data is, then you can govern, manage, protect that data with more confidence. And actually, once you know where the data is, then it'll be easy to tag the data, label the data, protect the data, or apply protection, categorize, and so on. So that is also included in here as well. And I'll just zoom in the normal way. And before we actually do anything, as previously, Microsoft Defender for Cloud now also has 2 tiers like we had before. So to set it up, if you haven't started yet using Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you will have 30 days for free. So getting started, obviously, it's where you should start, and then you'll be able to see, let's say, your subscriptions and workspaces, because Defender for Cloud can be enabled either or on the subscriptions, or at the subscription level, or at the workspace level, Log Analytics workspace level. And depending on where you actually enable the Defender for Cloud, you will get the different capabilities. And these are roughly the total resources that will be protected. If I click on it, then I will see that total 6 + 1 resource will be protected. So 1 that is reporting to this Log Analytics workspace, in total 6 additional ones that actually I have in this subscription. And then roughly I'll have this cost, a total 7 resources and so on. So, but let's take a look at not updating this in bulk, but rather going here first, performing a first step within, well, actually enabling it manually. So if we do that in bulk, then we will click everything. Then we will, of course, click upgrade, and then install agents if we don't have them already. But we can do that afterwards. Let's do the manual configuration. Environment settings. And environment settings now also contains the Azure subscriptions organized by management groups as well. So I have a couple of management groups and a few subscriptions too, and Log Analytics workspaces. You can see these here. So we have 10 plans on the subscription level and 2 plans on the workspace level. And then there's the AWS, which is in, well, the new connector is in preview. We still have an older connector that is not in preview, but it's being deprecated. If you took a look at the top, then we have also AWS accounts and Google Cloud Platform projects as well available to connect to the Defender for Cloud. So we do that by going to the environment settings. What we see here is actually a new portal. So actually you will get the message. So welcome to the new multi-cloud account management page, which is in preview. But if you want to switch to the classic cloud connectors, and you would want to, if you want to connect to the Google Cloud Platform, because there is no yet the Google Cloud Platform in a new portal in the new environment settings, then you have to click here, and then you'll see the classic cloud connectors portal that supported AWS and that supported the GCP. Recently, I've ported the classic connectors to the new one and deleted AWS connectors that I had, but practically connecting to the GCP is similarly as with the connecting to the Amazon Web Services, is actually that I need to set up supply the private key file that I do in the Google Cloud Platform Command Center. So what I have to have the Security Command Center enabled in the Google Cloud Platform. I need to have API enabled, and then create a service account, and then generate the key, supply the key, and then connect it. So far this is working here without any problem. Or we can also still have the older AWS connectors experience as well. So we need to create 3 roles in the Amazon Web Services, and then with these 3 roles, will give the access to our Defender for Cloud account. Plus, we also have to configure, as you can see, Azure Arc configurations, so to be able to connect AWS accounts. So the Azure Arc configuration, what that will do, it will create an app actually, and of course that app will be used to onboard machines from the AWS, and that's in the in here. So where it is? Anyone sees there it is, Azure Active Directory, and then we have And then we have also app registrations. And in the app registrations, then we have Arc for servers. So these are this is in fact the application that is created, and then of course we supply. So there it is, AWS connector app. So we supply the secret and the value and connect that. We use that to connect our AWS account. But with the new experience, it's a little bit easier and more streamlined, and actually it supports more things, and the experience is similar as with connecting with managing the Azure. So if we take a look at the AWS, then we in fact just need to select a name, then use for example, single account to onboard the AWS account. Select plans and configure access. So this is what then we have to do. Then you'll get a template, the CloudFormation template. CloudFormation is a JSON file in the AWS that actually that creates roles in here. So you create something in AWS, and then afterwards it is connected. We'll see the plans as well. The plans here include, let's say, these things. So Defender for plans include, for now, the security posture management. So any workloads, AWS workloads, will be also included, which are for free for now. And then some servers as well, and containers, where we also have an advanced capability to configure auto provisioning, for example, and that is of course the secret name that we've supplied, and as well as the connection to Log Analytics agent and the Azure Arc agent as well. And with containers, we have the similar experience. So we just enable or disable Kubernetes audit logs and retention period for now. But since this is in preview, I suspect, well, I expect that this will change as well. So this is preview, and then anything that is in preview will change in fact. And then you can also see the standards that are here supported for the AWS, but also these standards are supported also in the regulatory compliance window as well, where you can in fact just click on it and then see the assignment. So you can see assignments, or for example where it is assigned on account, or if it's not assigned, and so on. Then we can see the settings and and see the list of the assessments. So far we have 9 pages of assessments types, so pretty comprehensive. And we can of course see that this will be populated as Defender for Cloud product group also expands these. So it's today it's for a lot of companies, more and more companies actually have multi-cloud solutions. So not everyone is it's putting all eggs in one basket. So either companies are using in a similar way, balanced way, one in the other cloud provider, two cloud providers, or companies are using another cloud provider along with the on-premises solutions to back up their infrastructure, or make site recovery, or for just backup purposes and so on. So just to be sure that they are not relying on just one cloud provider, companies are increasingly using multiple providers, and then you could also see that the how the things have been developed through the years. First, when Azure came out, and in the first 5-6 years, you would see, or even 7, you would see no support for other clouds. But as we approach 2022, more and more on-premises and non-Azure cloud support were actually available in Azure. So like Azure Arc capabilities or Defender for Cloud or Sentinel capabilities where we can connect other clouds on premises too. So there are no just tools to migrate, but there are tools to connect other clouds. So we can see the hint beyond it. So Microsoft and Amazon and Google actually figured out that the multi-cloud is today more and more attractive to a lot of companies. And by going to other cloud solutions, not every company is actually abandoning the primary cloud provider choice, but rather having two. So having one pane of glass, single one, it's good. And Defender for Cloud actually does this very good. And I'm rather happy to see that the things are here going on a positive note up, and that the product group actually it's developing new things almost every week or month, and I'm actually excited to see what the future will bring. But let's in fact see the how can we enable in the first place on the Azure. Let's just pick one subscription that doesn't have the Defender coverage. For example, here we can see that 0 to 10, 0 of 10 it's actually enabled. So if we click on one, then we'll see that we have still it's not called Azure Defender anymore, but it's enhanced security. And actually these are Microsoft Defender for Cloud plans that are here. So by using the enhanced security off means we are settling with the free tier of Defender for Cloud, and that includes the continuous assessment and secure score. And by opting for or enabling Microsoft Defender for Cloud plans, then we have also just-in-time adaptive application control, regulatory compliance, and threat protection, and so on. For all of these plans and types of resources, I'll quickly jump to this one that I have a lot of resources in. So if you of course click and enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud plans, and then if you enable a plan, then all servers that are under the subscription will actually be included in this. The only way to granularly choose which servers are going to fall under Defender for Cloud is to attach servers to configure servers to send their logs to Log Analytics workspace, and then enable Microsoft Defender on the Log Analytics workspace level. So some of these can be configured more granularly. I've deliberately turned off the auto provisioning because of some testing, but we can of course make the advanced configuration and actually, which is still in preview for some features, enable auto configuration and auto provisioning as especially in here. So for the Defender for containers or for Log Analytics and so on, and as well as configure this. We can configure this more granularly, and this is something that we should do when we enable it. So edit the configuration and choose the level of the first, actually, you have to choose the Log Analytics workspace where this data will be collected, and then you can choose to store additional data of Windows security events that can be either minimal or common or all events. I've chosen all events to have a little bit more information and for some testing purposes, but you can tailor it down and then actually see the standard, actually include a standard set of events, and then if it's not enough, then you can include all events and eventually suppress some of the events that are not relevant. So, and as you've done that, this is also available for, as we've seen, for the AWS. And I suppose that if Microsoft will follow the development in this AWS connector, that soon enough the GCP connector will follow as well. But well, nothing is carved in stone, so probably the wish is to be here, but then we will see what will happen. In fact, there's of course also SQL information protection, but as far as it has been in preview for a while, but if I'm not wrong and if I recall correctly, this is something that is going to be deprecated or something like that. I'm not sure. I just have to check. I'm really not sure at this moment. There is a roadmap in the Defender for Cloud, and the Azure Purview here is going to be used more than the SQL information protection here. So I don't know what the future of this one will be, but for now we have that available in here. And if I recall correctly, this will be deprecated, but not sure 100%. And once we've enabled our plans, then we can see the Defender coverage in here. Also, the regulatory compliance and workload protections will be enabled too, and which is very, very important. And with the workload protections, we see advanced protection available, and that is the vulnerability assessment and just-in-time access and active application controls, container image scanning and active network hardening, and then vulnerability assessment of SQL servers and databases, as well as the network monitor map, and then file integrity monitoring as well. But as we've enabled it, we have also one thing available, and that is the regulatory compliance. And then we can see all these regulatory compliance standards that are available for us, and these are very good. And of course we have a lot of them, even more. So BeSecure is the one that I've created. For example, you can create your own, but you can pick also from all the standards that are applicable to Azure or to Google Cloud Platform or to AWS, and foundational security best practices and so on. But of course, manage compliance policies in the environment settings is where we will actually deal with that. So if it's on Azure, for example, let's take a look at it. That's the same thing as if I went to the environment settings and then went to the let's say I can go to the tenant root group, for example, and then enable this on a tenant root group on this management group, or I can pick any management group, for example, that will in fact if I pick the management group, this one, everything that I made in here will actually be enabled on everything that this management group contains, and that will be the subscriptions and log analytics workspaces. But also I can set this individually on the subscriptions as well, and that would be the security policy setting. So I can see that I have two initiatives and the regulatory standards, and of course some of them are out of the box, some of them are manually added. We can disable the ones that we don't want, And we also have some deprecated, but also some new here available instead of the older ones. And of course, we can see the inheritance, of course. So it's the management group inherited in here. But we can add more standards if we want, and these are being added. I won't say daily or weekly, but you can see that something is going on here, and then the list is growing. So we can actually add a few of them. And once we've done it, then if we, of course, have a plan enabled, then we can see the regulatory compliance, and in fact, we can see the compliance controls. So gray means it's not applicable, and red, it's in fact something is wrong, and then we can also take a look at it, because inside the network security control, NS, also contains different controls that are, some of them are not applicable, some of them are green because they're actually good, and we are compliant in this part, but we're not compliant for this subscription. We're not compliant in this part. So we can, what we can do to be compliant, we, of course, whether it's Azure Security Benchmark or whether it's PCI DSS, we can just go in there and actually remediate that recommendation. So here is one, but we can have here more than one, and of course this recommendation. So whatever the recommendation is, we can, for example, enforce, let's say, the adaptive network hardening on a specific resource, and especially on this port. Then once we've done it, once we've went through the the Azure, Defender for Cloud went through the freshness interval, some policies have shorter, some have longer freshness interval. Let's say 24 hours is the longest one, but there are freshness intervals for some recommendations that are of 30 minutes or in 1 hour. So once 24 hour passes for this one, we will see that we are compliant in here as well. And then of course we can download the report of that compliance for any of the standards, whether it's the CSV or PDF, and then we can of course apply it to whoever it is asking. And we can also see the MS or C, which means the controls are under Microsoft responsibility, and the C is the customer responsibility. So we can see that we are here both responsible in part for being compliant in this case. So, but of course, there is also something that is only C or MS, but that depends on the, for example, standard. And we can follow the standards and see the and see the timeline of standards as well as we go to the workbooks, which are very, very nice one. Since we already, of course, we can. There's one for our convenience just placed in here under regulatory compliance. So this is the workbook compliance over time, but we can see that even if we go in here in the workbooks. But since we are already here, let's take a look at it, because these workbooks are very, very useful. And of course we have to pick the workspace, and I'll select all. Actually, I'll select just some of them, because some of them are empty, and let's say this one, and pick some standards. So let's say subscription is this one, and then some standards. I'll pick all of the standards that are here, and then we can see the regulatory compliance overview, and also compliance path or controls over time. So we can see whether we are going how we are doing. In fact, are we going down or up? Are we doing better or worse over the time? And it's very useful because we can, in fact, spot some anomalies and actually some deficiencies in our policies or in our settings, which is very, very good. And not just for regulatory compliance. And after all, these regulatory compliance standards mean the levels of security that we are achieving. So we should check regulatory compliance as well, even if we are not responsible for reporting regulatory compliance standards to anyone. So since if we have that plan enabled, so why not checking it? It'll be good for assessing the compliance over time. That means equals security over time as well. We have dedicated security workbooks, but still it's good to take a look at these as well. And then we can see the past controls and the numbers and statistics. And if we take a look, if we click one, for example, it's the PCI DSS, and then we can see the changes for PCI DSS and actually what has changed, in fact. So we can actually focus on some changes or some controls and actually harden our network or infrastructure. And after we click on it on a main control, we can even drill down and see the 10 sub controls of well, this is 10 sub controls of track and monitor all access to network resources. So we can see the failed assessments and last week and last month and so on. So we see that we are going better or worse. So we can in fact take a look at it and remediate for things, and then we can go even more in detail for the specific subcontrol. So we can see what's wrong in here and actually take some action for it. So this is the compliance over time, and then we can of course set the auto refresh as well, and that works for everything. Of course, we can always open query and then use the KQL or make a graph query as well. That will give us the compliance information too. So that's the query that we can in fact just save as and modify it, and then we can run it and execute and see the results of the query results for the standard of the PCI DSS that we've actually just seen there, but we can tailor it for our purposes a little bit more in detail, and then we can see the results, of course, and then we can of course actually download it as a CSV and save the query and etc. And of course some things that are newer, actually a little bit better, are the standard ones, like the recommendations. Let's see the recommendations that are placed under this list. So we can see the controls. As you can see that enable MFA is not just the Microsoft thing. It's all the things that are we following fall under this, let's say, control, or controls do not filter out on the cloud level, right? Actually, they just include all the controls that are applicable regardless of the cloud that we connected to. So we can see the mix and match in here. So we can in fact protect that. That's the point of the defender of the cloud, defender for the cloud, protecting all our infrastructure and all our assets through one single pane of glass. And the workload protections is also something that it's a little bit redesigned, and includes also Defender for Cloud Coverage, where we can see the percentage of fully covered against the not covered at all, and of course the security alerts that now are having also MITRE attack tactics a column here. So the MITRE attack tactics are just these ones. Yes, attack MITRE.org. We can see that applied in Microsoft Sentinel, but also in Azure Security Center, actually Defender for Cloud. We have MITRE attack metrics for enterprise that gathers different actions through the different well, not controls, but actually the categories, let's say, initial access, execution, or reconnaissance, or as we go from the left to the right, it means the first initial contact, or to the eventual data exfiltration. So these are the actions that can be identified also in our Defender for Cloud as well. So these are alerts that fall under specific tactic collection. So that is the pre-attack or collection or exfiltration. And you can see that some of these are sample alerts that we can, so if you're evaluating, this is very good because you can generate the sample alerts in here. So just click sample alerts, choose the subscription that you want to create the alerts in, and then pick the alerts that you want to create. And these sample fake alerts will be created with no data instead of no data, instead of having the real IP address. The IP address will be, for example, all zeros, but all the text is real that you will see if real event happens. So this will be the application name, the subscription, and all the data that here is missing, and of course other things as well. So alert details, for example. But let's take a look at one. Let's say this is this is the SQL Server. And this is a real alert because the suspected brute force attack happened, and this one, and you can see that suspected brute force attack attempt is okay. Well, okay, because it's just a brute force attack attempt that will bots or individuals are performing all the time. But this one is something that is even more of higher severity than this one, because suspected brute force attack attempt using a valid user. So it means that now whoever is attacking my SQL Server actually knows that there is a valid user. It used a valid username. I know they know, but at least I know that they've tried using that, and that they've identified the real username. So the username is SA, and the IP address is here. We have geotagging, latitude, longitude, and which doesn't have to be exactly the house number, but in fact it's roughly, we know the city and the country, and of course we can see whether where actually this falls, and in fact take action. So the textual information is here: what to mitigate the threat, prevent future attacks, and then some similar attacks, and top 3 active security recommendations on that resource, on that very resource that has been attacked on that SQL Server. And then we can trigger an automated response, and then we can trigger a logic app if we have it. If we had it before, I have to be in a right subscription to use it. And these are logic apps that we can use. And then we can, of course, also make use an automated response to, for example, let's say, isolate, let's say, a virtual machine, and we can trigger that logic app that we created. And of course, to suppress similar alerts, which wouldn't be good, we can in fact create a suppression rule that is good, especially, for example, if I am doing the brute force trial and I want to see that these types of alerts, for example. And of course there are some other things that happen in here, for example, that are not sample alerts, and then there are a lot of these, like suspicious authentication activity, or let's say, or any other things that happen. So we can see also whether it's in this case was the web app, for example, and the other things that are interesting and that are well, not new but actually enhanced is, well, the just-in-time state as it was previously, where we have the capability to automatically open and close ports based on what we've enabled. For example, let's say enable this one. Oh yeah, these are configured. So we can see that just-in-time VM access is enabled on these ports. And as we go to the virtual machine on that ACLab-win virtual machine, then we will see that if we let's say ask for permission to connect, the 339 port will be open for 3 hours. So network security group rule will be created for any protocol, and per requested IP source IPs for 3 hours, and then we can make it a day, but usually the 3 hours is quite enough. So the network security group will allow RDP port to be open for 3 hours before it's closed again. And as well, the adaptive application controls, where we can in fact group some of the machines for which we can set up the allow list, for example. And we have the recommended virtual machines that we can set up for, and of course group these, and of course select the audit and see the result of the rules that are valid in here for these machines, for example. As well as the newest things are improved container image scanning, the container vulnerabilities, and also SQL vulnerabilities assessment. This will take a while, for example, to be displayed and to find the vulnerabilities on databases and SQL servers. But still, as we do that, of course, we have to enable this on a SQL on a server level for all the databases, or on a database level for a specific database. But we can then also get the report using a report by email about the vulnerability assessment as well. And file integrity monitoring is also something that is also very interesting, because it monitors the integrity of the crucial files, or the files that we want to monitor for their execution. So let's say if we have a notepad.exe that is always executing from a certain directory or certain place, if that behavior changes, and if the notepad.exe executes from in a different context, then we will also get the alert for that. And yeah, and that's something is happening real here. Refreshing. Okay, there it is. We need to of course enable the let's say the workspace for monitoring, and as we do that, we can see the servers that we are monitoring, and the changes that, for example, happened on the different directories and files, for example. And these are Windows. This is a Windows server, and then we can see in fact the changes that are followed in files and in the registry. So we can see the change, what happened, what key has been changed, and of course we can track these. If we click on the settings, then we can change tracking of this Windows registry keys or these Windows files, and Linux file content or Windows services and collection frequency. So we can follow the changes that are happening. So we can view file integrity monitoring for all of these all the resources that are attached to the different workspaces, and of course we can automate all of these as we add the workflow automation. The workflow automation works on the regulatory compliance or for the security alerts and recommendations, and then we can set it for the specific subscription resource group, of course, and the trigger condition is something that is important. So we can choose any of these Defender for Cloud Data Type alerts, and the alert name contains, and then we can just type what the alert name contains for that, and as well as the severity. So we can in fact, when these things in here happen, then all these actions are performed. So these are we can choose any logic app from any of these subscriptions, and then use the logic app, for example, to trigger anything in here, and of course the workbooks. Just a minute or two, we've seen the compliance over time workbook that was available in the regulatory compliance, but we can see secure score over time, system updates, log 4J vulnerability, and other things as well as we can create our own workbooks. We can go to the community Git repo for Defender for Cloud on a GitHub, and that's the here are the workbooks. So we can in fact choose any of these and import it in here. But what it's even more interesting and very, very nice, it is something. Let me see that. Oh, there it is. Labs. There should be here. Exactly. So here it is, and this is the one that is very useful, and I will actually. Oh, there it is in the chat window. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud Labs, and I suggest that you, if you want to know about more about Microsoft Defender for Cloud, then go through these labs. Very, very good labs. Couple of modules: module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. From the level 100 to 300, and then you can see prepare, explore, and of course also and other things, security policy, regulatory compliance, etc. But provisioning resources automation will create you few things, all these things. So it will give you this little nice lab to work with. So click deploy to Azure, and you will get all of these. So you can work on your own and then see how the Defender for Cloud works. So you'll have each of something of each. So it's not costly lab because most of the things you can shut down, but it's really, really, really nice. I suggest that you go here and take a look at these as well. All right. We can actually talk here for days about this. We've just gone through the scratch the surface, of course, and but still, hopefully, this won't be the one that you'll check out. And actually, Defender for Cloud is really nice product. So if anyone has any questions, Gisli?
Yeah, I saw that Heiðr had a question earlier. If he wants to ask.
Sorry?
No? No, Heiðr does not want to ask any questions.
Okay. Oh, no worries.
So I think we are out of time. So I think this should be pretty good. Thank you for this show. It's been very interesting. Very
You're
good
welcome.
to see the new stuff there, and it's very interesting.
There's a lot more under the hood, but
of course. Thank you for this, and
you're welcome.
Maybe next time.